Hi, Haunted family. Welcome back to another episode. If you've not entered our contest, you need to do so now. Time is running out. We'll be closing the contest and drawing the winner on Halloween. So follow the link in the description to get entered. If you're interested in seeing some of the things that we're adding to the prize pack, head over to our Instagram page where we have been uploading sneak previews of a few of the items that we're including one of Cat Hair and Glitter best-selling t-shirts. Now, without further ado, sit back and enjoy the show. My mama died at a very young age, just a few months earlier. I was devastated about this loss. I wanted to talk to my mom again. I wanted to see if she was alright, if she was happy. I was not happy. I was hanging around with my friends and not doing much of anything when one of them said they wanted to contact the dead. My eyes opened wide at this prospect. A chance to talk to my mom. I heard myself saying, yes, let's do this. We planned our big night for the night of Halloween. One of the friends' parents was going out for the evening. We would have the house to ourselves. There was 8 of us, and we were excited as the big night approached. Around 7 that evening, we all entered the house, laughing and giggling, thinking that this would be kind of stupid, not wanting to make fools of ourselves in front of the other guys. We sat around a huge oval table, and then one of the guys said we needed a leader, one who would do the talking and communicating. I was a quiet, shy girl who kind of sat in the background, just watching my friends. I was also still crying over my loss. Then, to my horror, one of the guys pointed at me and said that I had to do the talking. I begged and pleaded, to no avail. I lost that one straight away. We all positioned ourselves with me at the head of the table, the guys on one side and the girls on the other. We all joined hands, with a candle burning in the center of the table. We started out in nervous laughter. This went on a few times until one of the girls shouted that we should not mess with the spirit world, as they would get very angry. Concentrate, she shouted again. Concentrate. Ask only for a good spirit, she told me. I said I was going to ask for my mom. My friend said that she wanted to talk to her grandmother, and another asked to speak with her uncle. But I started asking for my mom. In my mind, as I was asking out loud for a spirit, a friendly spirit to come to us, I was asking for my mom. I don't know if I went into a deep sleep or a deep trance. All I know was that I was not with my friends at that time. I felt scared. My body was trembling. I could not move. It felt like something or someone was holding my body down, frozen in time. I could not open my eyes. I could not talk, could not move. I honestly thought I was dead. In the next moment, I felt like someone had slapped me hard. I fell back out of my chair and stood up, rubbing my eyes. I looked up to see my friend flying through the air. This room was 26 feet long, and no one was holding her. I looked around to see where everyone was, and they all sat in their chairs, with a look of utter disbelief on their faces. Scared was not the word. My friend stopped above the TV, still in the air. She looked asleep. Not knowing what was happening to her, she fell on top of the TV, with a sickening thud, but still did not wake up from her comatose state. I was horrified and scared. I seemed glued to the spot I was standing in, to my shoes, not letting me move. My friend then lifted back into the air, up to the ceiling, and flew across to the side of the room, and fell onto the sofa. We all managed to move and ran towards her. The heavy coffee table lifted off the ground, and got thrown on top of her body. One of the older boys there shouted, "What's going on?" and lifted the table off of her. My friend then started to thrash out, as if to ward someone away from her, shouting, "No, no, no! I promise I will never do it again. Please leave me alone." I remember myself and a few others running out of that house, not looking back. Even the girls who lived in that house ran from it. I do not know if they stayed with our friend, but I do know that our group of friends never talked about this again, about that night. We also did not play with spirits again, and never returned to the house. I will wait to talk to my mom when I am also dead. There is a time and place for everyone and everything. When I was in 3rd grade, our family moved to a small town in Ohio. We rented a house on the outskirts of town, next to the National Guard Armory. This house gave me a creepy feeling from the first time I saw it, and I absolutely refused to stay home alone with my brother and my sister. I always had a sensation of being watched. My mother had the same feeling, and even felt someone breathing on the back of her neck one day while she was doing the dishes. When she turned around, there was no one there. One day, my mother left me and my brother home alone while she went to town to do some laundry. I was instructed to be sure to lock the door after she left. Being a typical kid, I forgot to do so. My brother and I were playing records, and then he fell asleep on the couch. Shortly after this, the back door came open by about a foot. The back door was glass, and I could see a shadowy outline of a man with a hat, the kind of hat men wore in old 1950s movies. I cowered behind the couch in the corner and prayed my mother would come home soon. When she did, the image was gone. On another occasion, at the same house, I saw a man looking in from the window from the front porch. My mother went to check it out, and no one was there. The final straw came late one night, after we were asleep. My parents were in bed talking with the lights off, when all of a sudden someone, or something, with a pair of heavy boots on, took off running down the hall. We had wooden floors, so this was very loud. It started at their bedroom door. My father, an unbeliever at the time, thought someone was in the house, and took chase. By the time he reached the bedroom door, the intruder had gone down the stairs to the first landing. He was out of my father's range of vision. At one point, my father noticed, as he pursued the intruder down the stairs, whoever or whatever it was had gone through a closed door without opening it. There was a door on the first landing of the stairs. My father pursued the intruder into the basement, thinking he had trapped him. There was no exit from the basement. There was also no intruder. My father spent several evenings trying to discover what had made that noise, but to no avail. There was simply no explanation. He moved into the house as an unbeliever, and after 2 months, he moved out very much a believer. He spent the rest of his life reading everything he could about ghosts and the supernatural. This house was something like 100 years old at the time. It had an apple orchard next to it. Rumor had it that an old man who had lived there killed his wife and buried her in the apple orchard. About 15 years later, while living in Florida, a friend of ours came to visit. He brought with him some friends of his that were visiting from out of state. We got on the subject of haunted houses, and I told them my story, and amazingly, they had a similar experience in a house that they had lived in. Come to find out, it was the exact same house. No one ever lived in that house very long. It would stand empty for months. You would see people move in, and 2 or 3 months later, you would see them move out, and the place would sit empty again for several months. The house is gone now, and a fast food restaurant stands in its place. I wonder if the restaurant is haunted as well. I'm a letter carrier in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I recently took over a route in the city's south side. Before I even got started, some of the old-timers started teasing me, saying, "Make sure you say hello to the ghost for me," or, "Have you seen old Bob yet?" Being a skeptical by nature, I just let these comments pass until one day, in early June, I had just entered the bar and started to hand the mail out to the owner when the door opened completely and no one came into the room. The owner paid absolutely no attention to it until I asked if he saw what I saw. He just smiled and said, "That door will just not stay closed. My dad owned this place since the 60s. I grew up in this tavern, and no matter what we try, that door will not stay shut." I told Max that some of the guys at work claim his bar is haunted. He chuckled again and said, "Nah, they don't know the half of it. Stop by after work sometime, and I'll tell you all about it." Several weeks passed by, and although I was curious, I was not curious enough to visit this questionable neighborhood on my own time, until one Saturday in September, when Max told me he was having an estate sale at the bar. He had items laid out all over the bar area, and downstairs in the kitchen. The upstairs had 6 rooms that had been rented out in the 30s and 40s. They were now just dusty and empty. He had the upstairs and the entrance to the basement closed off with the yellow tape you see on TV crime scenes. I was in the kitchen looking at a blender when I felt someone standing right behind me. I quickly turned around and thought I saw a shadow out of the corner of my eye. "All right, I'm ready to listen," I said to the bar owner, "but first, I'll need a beer." The building turns out to be one of the oldest in the city, built before 1880. There was a rooming house across the street where workers from the local foundry used to live. On payday, they would cash their checks at the tavern and cut loose a little bit. Some of the professional ladies plied their trade in the upstairs room. In the early 20s, a man died upstairs. In the bathroom, he was scalded to death in the bathtub. It was assumed that he had fallen asleep while drunk, although foul play was not ruled out. The presence of felt in the kitchen is thought to be one of the ladies who were in the kitchen for many years, after she had become less desirable to the patrons. The most frightening story happened to Max himself. In the late 1980s, he was doing some remodeling and living upstairs in the tavern. Although he admits that he was tired, he swears he was standing in the upstairs bedroom, looking sideways. He saw a man in clothing from the 30s or 40s staring at him. He looked again, and there was no one there. About a month later, he was sleeping in the bar, on the floor, since he would no longer go upstairs. And he swears that someone shook him awake and said, "Someone's trying to break in." Thinking it was just a dream, Max turned over and went back to sleep. Until the police woke him up, at the door, with a burglar in tow.